Welcome to episode 173 of Meeple to Meeple. Okay, so today I am bringing back game designer Kristen Mott, and we're diving into a whole lineup of her games, from planning out a museum in Dinosaur Exhibit to swimming with sharks to raising some seriously adorable chaos and victory points in Drakelings, and her newest release, Stable Times. Kristen has this knack. I love her for this. She has this knack for taking fun, thematic, and in many cases, educational ideas and turning them into games that feel approachable, but they still have so much strategy and tremendous interaction. So we're going to get into how these games come to life, what nearly broke during design, and what it really takes to bring such different themes to the table. So stand at attention. This is going to be a fun one. I present to you the incomparable, the undeniably talented Khaleesi of whimsy and tabletop motherhood, Kristen Mott. Kristen, how are you?
I'm good. Well, thank you for that. I hope I can live up to my introduction.
You can. You always do. What are you talking about?
All right. If you say so, yeah. I'm happy to talk about games or whatever.
And I mean, you've got so many games that you have designed under your belt and more coming. It's like, my gosh, it's just, you're awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I absolutely love it. Game design has provided so much for me in my life. Like, it has really provided me a direction and sort of this like life-saving thing as a creative outlet that I can do that, doesn't have anything to do with my kids, doesn't have anything to do with my role in the home. It's like, this is my thing. And I have started to build a business because of it. And
Yeah.
it's been great.
Yes. So just like I said, you've come across and you've designed games over a wild array of different themes.
Hmm.
Dinosaurs, sharks, dragons, horses in stables, sharks, gardens, because I forgot to include garden club. So here's my question. What draws you to a concept in the first place? And you're like, yes, I need to design a game on this.
Yeah. Well, usually it starts theme first, where I come across something in the real world. A lot of my games have real world themes built on real world systems. And a lot of times a concept I'll think about and be like, "Oh, well, that needs to be a game." That's what happened with Insectarium, with pinning insects into those little shadow boxes. I came across one of those and I thought, of course, there's a categorical game here where you're lining things up and pinning them. And so I built it, and that's that's where it came from. Every once in a while I will start mechanic first, but that's pretty rare. Generally it starts with a theme. And that doesn't mean like it stays with that theme. It changes more frequently than you would think. Depending on the game and the gameplay and how you need to mesh things to
Yep.
make it work.
How often do you get an idea for a game? Whether you make it into a game or just like, how often does that thought pop in your head? This needs a game.
I don't know. Probably every day there's something. I don't always write it down if I'm like, I think about it like, oh, it's probably already been done. And then the thought flies away. But I generally tend to carry a notebook with me most places, or if I don't have it, I will make a note in my phone and save it for later. And then if that thought continues to come back to me frequently, then I think, okay, well, I can't stop thinking about it. I should write down a couple of notes and see where it goes.
That's great. So
Yeah.
it's the repetitive occurrence of the idea that lets you know I
Generally,
might be onto
yes.
something.
Or if I think this is super unique, I haven't seen it
Mhm.
before, if I have some other reason for trying to develop it, then goes into the process too
Right.
of, trying to see it get through to the next stage.
You mentioned briefly your kids. How
Mhm.
much have they been an influence or a motivating factor in your game design?
So early on, they were the motivation. So that's how I originally got into game design, which was we were homeschooling, or I was homeschooling all three of them full time. And I sort of discovered games with my oldest son, and I just saw everything that was happening in his mind and the decisions and the learning and everything. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I should start making games. So I actually ended up making games, which I thought about this earlier today, making them and designing them before my husband and I really got into playing them. So I decided I wanted to start making games for homeschool, just some enrichment stuff. I wanted to try to make a game that I thought my middle daughter would actually play. She was 4 at the time. And so that's where the early motivation was, to make games for them. And then a little bit later on, a couple years down the road, they were everybody was super into dinosaurs. So that's where dinosaur exhibit came from. Their favorite was the Spinosaurus. That's what's on the cover. And then they were into sharks. So I made a shark game. It doesn't happen that way as much anymore. My oldest is
Yeah.
almost 13. So it's, it's different, but um yeah, they were the motivation early on.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Dinosaur Exhibit.
Okay.
Probably my favorite of your games that has been a huge hit every time we take it on the road. Family, friends,
I'm glad.
it doesn't matter. But so aside from, your kids were interested in dinosaurs, what was the core idea that you wanted players to feel while they were building their exhibits on their
So
player
I
mat?
really liked it. I still do. But at the time I really liked games where I felt like I was building something. So at the end of the game I had this thing, didn't matter if I won or not. I made this. Look how cool it is. And so that was a little bit of what I wanted for that game. Also around the time that I was thinking about it and creating, I was watching Night at the Museum. My kids really liked
Uh-huh.
dinosaurs and Spinosaurus, and then well, I also really kind of like this movie. This is Night at the Museum. And so I tried to mesh the 2 in thinking, what if it was just a museum building game? And
Mhm.
I couldn't quite get that to work. And it was one of my earliest designs. So it was harder for me to pivot and like figure things out more quickly on how mechanically they were going to work. And so then I tried to just zoom in on a dinosaur exhibit and, figure out how I could do that with the categories of dinosaurs and, make it easy enough for kids to play and all of that. But yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, the beauty of dinosaur exhibits, so you roll 2 dice, and then we each go around rolling the dice, and the person who rolled the dice gets to choose which symbol they're going to color in or pencil
Mhm.
in, and everyone else has to pencil in the second die. So, there's a strategy that I've been trying to do. I'm gonna confess this to you now. I've been trying
Okay.
for years. I cannot make it work. Rather than trying to make a museum, I'm gonna try to make a museum warehouse.
Yep, the storage units.
Yes. So you want to make them, I think there's 4 in a row in different shapes
Mhm.
so that you can get the exhibit tile and put it in your museum. Or I think you get 1 point for every single square that is colored in, but nothing orthogonally adjacent to
Yep.
it, right?
So it
So
could be like a checkerboard.
it could be like a checkerboard, and each of those I think are closets or storage units for
Yeah, storage
exhibits.
unit.
I have calculated that if you can do it, where that's all you do and you get no exhibits, that's 24 points
Yep.
at the end of the game, and you should win. You should. I can't do it. I
If you can
can't.
pull it off because you end up having to put them
Yep.
adjacent to certain things. So yeah. I
Yeah.
know. I don't I know you can't win that way.
But that game is so much fun, and it's such a simple roll and write game that
Yeah.
and you've done an amazing job of scaling it based on player count. So
Yeah, it'll go up to 6 players.
right. And
Um
it's the number of rounds, right? It's
Yeah, because when you
yeah.
go up into a higher player count, then you end up getting more of those
Mhm.
secondary curation spaces to color
Yeah.
in. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to go for as many rounds.
Yeah. So it is a favorite,
Oh, well,
favorite in our
thank you.
household. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
I'm
for
glad you guys
designing
like
it.
it.
Yeah. There is there a future addition, expansion, anything on dinosaur?
No, not in the works at all. I've thought about it before. What I would really like is for a publisher to pick it up and reprint it.
Mm,
It just hasn't happened yet. I think it's kind of one of those games because it's so simple and it's for 6 years, 6 and up. Like, I don't know. It hasn't found a home yet. And so I would love for that to happen and for it to
yeah.
be more widely distributed and all of that. So,
So
you know,
guys, all the designer friends out there, all my publisher friends out there.
yeah, if you're interested.
I mean, dinosaur exhibit, reach out to Kristen Mott. Uh,
Sure.
It needs a home.
Yeah.
Is there a designer in particular you'd really like to court? I can call
Oh, a
them out right
publisher?
now. Yeah, is there someone you
I
really are really hoping for? And I'll call them out right now.
No, I mean, anybody who's interested, I'm happy to show it to them. It's a great, I feel easy fairly easy to produce game because
Mhm.
I did it myself. It's got 100 pieces of paper, 2 dice, pencils, and some tiles.
Yeah,
Um, but
it's it's
and I
pretty
own all the
fantastic.
artwork, so
See?
you could just put your label on it and
That's
your
some
logo on
easy
it.
money, publishers. Come on,
But no, I mean,
easy.
anybody who wants to see it is I'm happy to show it to them.
Well, how about okay, so with Sharks,
Mhm.
right? Sharks was your second game, I believe.
Yeah.
How did you approach making a game that is both fun and it captures the sense of tension and danger that you did? Because you definitely did that, and how did you do that?
Oh, well, thank you. So when I started that game, I really wanted it to be a game where the sharks were not the bad guy. Because
Right?
I felt like in a lot of kids' games, sharks are always that's always the bad guy. You're always
Mhm,
running from him or whatever. And I wanted to be able to fit all some different shark species into the same game. So it's not just the great white that's attacking everybody. So there's 6 different types of sharks in there, each with a very small but different movement ability. And I just wanted them to all be able to interact in the ocean. And so
mhm.
you are eating the different fish types and fish sizes, which are these little tiles that you end up putting in your shark's stomach. So, and that's how you're going to score points based on the cards that you have, is based on the different fish that you have in your stomach at the time. And so the other thing that I added into that game was the humans end up being the bad guy because they're at the end of each turn, you're also moving this boat that is
Mhm.
leaving trash behind in the ocean. And so sometimes you're forced to eat the trash
Yep.
as you go along. There's ways to get rid of it, but yeah, I really liked that tension of sharks being the good guys and trying to avoid the things that the humans are doing. You get that little bit of education and just a little
Yeah.
bit of real world
Um,
stuff going on.
Which research did you have to do? Because I think you put in a lot. Like,
Uh,
because you're from a landlocked state. You're not it's not like you live on the ocean, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did do a lot of research, but I also had my son actually at the time help me with the research because he was reading all the shark books and everything, so he could tell
Oh.
me, "Mom, this shark does this, it should move this way." What I ended up doing the most research on actually was the different sea creatures that they eat. I would have to find out, like, does a shark actually eat this? What is the average size of this creature?
Sure.
And then what category do they fit in? You know, it had, crustaceans, and then there were
Right.
different types of fish, and I can't even remember the categories, but they were all different. But, yeah, there was a lot of research that went into that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So designing the game was an educational tool, at least for your son, in the
Yeah.
process.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a final product that you got to have fun with. Like,
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's been a super rewarding part of this game design journey too, is, like, my kids see me working all the time, and then, however many months and or years later, there's a product that they get to see, like, "Oh,
yeah.
Mom made that, and I helped her with it." That was fun. The day that Dinosaur Exhibit got shipped to our house after the Kickstarter, that was a fun day because everybody got to see the boxes and boxes of
Yeah.
this game that they had spent months playtesting with me, and now it looked real, and, we shipped them out to all the backers, and that was a fun time. It felt very
That's cool.
rewarding with the kids too.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Drakelings.
Mhm.
Drakelings, so for me, Drakelings has a really charming vibe. Uh, and when I saw it, when you were demoing it, I think
Mhm.
this was last year, I was blown away. I was blown
Oh.
away by the design, the mechanics, and everything. And I didn't know much about it at the time. How do you, how do you design mechanics that match the kind of tone without
Mm.
it feeling too light, in
That's a
terms of
really good
weight?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do just with the direction of the game itself. Sometimes that's not always something you can plan for. I didn't go into it thinking we're going to make this charming game that's going to be dragons and you So that game was original, or it was a co-design with Adrian Adamescu, and originally the game was about pets. You were matching up pets with different owners, which in itself turned in, and we had another game about that too. And so but then it ended up being about dragons. And uh I don't know. It's just I feel like games end up being, if you follow the game and the flow of the design, it ends up being what it needs to be. If you try not to fight it too much, you take your playtester feedback, you figure things out, and the game will sort of give you a direction of where it wants to go. And that's generally where it ends up. And I think a lot of the vibe of Drakelings has to do with the art style too. Like the art that they got for that was spot on, I think, for the feel of what we wanted. It's light, but there's tons of combos and
Hmm.
but you still feel like you're pairing up a baby dragon with a trainer,
Yes.
in that you're doing all these different things at the same time and you're fighting over these resources. And I I don't know. Feels like you're working in a dragon hatchery.
Well, in a way you are, which I think
Yeah,
is really cool and unique and really captured our imagination when we saw the
yeah,
demo of this game. So I'm going to ask, I've asked this of all the designers, although I think this is the first time I've asked you. Every time you've been on this show in the past, it's been either as a content creator or gamer or helping me
sure.
interview another designer. So now you're in the hot seat.
Okay.
Let's talk about playtesting. How easy was it for you to be vulnerable and open up your idea and your project to strangers and their criticism?
It really honestly was not that hard, even in the beginning, because I think I already felt like if I want this to be the best thing it's going to be, people are going to have to tell me what doesn't work. So I was very open to what other people had to say, how they felt about the game, things that were and were not working. Um, the It's interesting because, like, when I was playtesting Dinosaur Exhibit, that was during COVID, and
Mhm.
so I couldn't meet people to play the game, and I also was not aware of Tabletop Simulator. I didn't have any digital, way to
Mm.
play the game, and so what I ended up doing was cutting out tons and tons of copies myself at home and mailing them to people who said that they would play it, and then,
Mm.
doing phone calls, or they would fill out a sheet and send it back to me. And I don't know, I don't mind the criticism. I haven't really come across anything that's been horrifically bad. Like criticisms of me that would really hurt my feelings. It's
Mm.
like I understand that the game needs to be the best it can be. So I want
Right.
to hear what you think about it. And if it's not working, please tell me, because, although now generally I can see if it's not working. I don't need
Right.
people to tell me if it's not working, but I like to know how they're feeling about it in the moment too. How they're
Yeah.
feeling about the play.
Right.
I think that answered the question.
So
I don't
yes. No,
know.
no,
I could
absolutely.
just ramble on.
It's really interesting because you bring up feeling, and it's a topic, it's an aspect of board games design, playtesting that I've
Mhm.
been trying to bring up more and more on the show.
Okay.
I've been asking more questions about what kind of feeling did you want your players to have or invoke, because you're right, that's just as important as did the it work mechanically,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I'm learning that, I've been learning that over the last few years, that, like, not only is that great feedback for somebody else to give me as a designer, but that's what I try to focus on when I'm playtesting somebody else's game.
Mhm.
Like, okay, well, I didn't like this because it made me feel this way. I felt rushed, or I
Right.
felt like I didn't have choice, or whatever. Um and so it is very important, because when the game is out, like, you want people to feel a certain way. Maybe in a certain game, you want them to feel really restricted and constrained with timing or whatever. And then other games, you want to feel cozy and you can just take whatever you want and
Yeah.
build this nice thing, which is
Yes.
generally my jam. But
That's interesting. I'm thinking about some prototypes of yours that I play tested, and they weren't cozy.
I do have some that are not cozy.
Yeah.
So this Prowl, I know you've play tested that one
Yep.
early
Sure
on. That
did.
one's a little bit mean. but in a fun way. Yeah.
Maybe fun for you, but
Well, yeah, it was fun for me.
that you are so prolific as a designer. I completely forgot about Prowl. Like,
Oh,
and did not prepare a question to ask you
oh, that's all
about
right.
Prowl. I'm like, geez, I'm a failure as an interviewer. Oh my goodness.
My goodness. No.
No, no. So your newest game, which I also play tested in one version, and as near as I can tell, looks vastly different. And that's Stable Times.
Yes.
Just recently came out. Everyone's loving it. A lot of good buzz. What makes this one different from all your previous designs?
I would say the design journey for this game in particular was
Okay.
probably the most different. So this game, originally, the original concept for this one, it was a starfish party game, essentially. You were stay with me. So
Okay.
it was this game where you were pulling starfish arms out of a bag because starfish can regrow their arms. You're passing around the table. There's this little drafting mechanic in the middle. And so basically, you're trying to be the first player to get 5 arms of the same color. That was the gist of the game. Didn't really work that great. There was this weird bottleneck thing that I couldn't quite work through with the way the game worked. And I ended up turning it into a card game. Card game. Like the middle drafting mechanic functioned fairly similarly, but you were now a tattoo artist tattooing sea monsters, tattooing sea monster arms.
Okay, hold on. I need to
So
get my seatbelt on here.
buckle up, it's going to be crazy. uh, and so that's where the mechanics, essentially, of what stable times became. They got solidified in that version. So you were creating
Mm,
these arms. So there were these columns of sea monster arms, and you've got these different tattoos that were interacting across your grid. Then I ended up changing it, and I had always just wanted to make a horse game. I was a horse person in a previous life. I rode and competed for 20 years before I got married and had kids. And so I did. I changed it into horses where you were now bringing your horses into aisles. So you're like putting them in your stable and they're interacting with different horses across the barn, and pitched it to a couple publishers and then ended up showing it to Lovemore, and they loved it. And the rest is history. Like it has been such a great journey. Once I had turned it into the horse theme, there really wasn't a whole lot mechanically that had to change from what it was with the sea monsters. And honestly, horses fit way better mechanically with how it was than sea monsters, which was just a fun kind of strange theme. Maybe I'll go back to that at some point and try to make a
okay.
different game based on that, but we'll see.
Okay. All right.
So yeah,
So
that was the whole journey of stable times.
that's a journey.
Yeah.
That is a serious journey. What I find interesting is why didn't you just design a horse game from the get-go? It sounded like that's what you wanted,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I had tried that actually in several different occasions. Like, oh, I would want to make a game about a horse show because that was
Mm,
what I did. Like, that
right.
was my job way back when, is I would work at these horse shows, and you had different rings that you were taking the horses to, and all these different things. And actually, Adrian and I made a game based on that, but it just didn't. It didn't fit for a lot of the publishers we
Hmm.
showed it to, and so we ended up changing the theme of that one. And it got signed as something else. But yeah, I don't know. I thought I've got these other designs, including
Yeah.
the tattooing sea monsters. I thought that could fit as a horse game. And so instead of trying to build something else from the ground up, I just tried to rework it. And it ended up being much better than what it was with that theme. So
uh,
yeah.
serendipity. Mm, you
And I
know?
think that that's a good example too of letting the game become what it needs to be too. Like,
Okay.
I could
Yeah.
have tried to force the starfish game a little bit, but it just wasn't working. And who knows,
Right.
maybe I'll go back and make another. I mean, it's so vastly different. I could go back and try to make the starfish game again. We'll see.
It's possible, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, what is one feature of Stable Times that you are particularly proud of?
So it really doesn't have anything to do with gameplay, but I am
It's okay.
super proud of the fact that Lovemore, the publisher, every horse in that game, every card is a unique horse and it belongs
Wow.
to a person. Like when they first announced the game, they sent out, an announcement saying if you have a horse or you know somebody who has a horse, that they would like immortalized on, in a game, send us a little something about the horse's personality,
Right.
characteristics, and some photos. And then they just picked a bunch of horses that are, you know, real live horses
Wow.
and put them in the game. In fact, the my horse is on the cover, a horse that I had for about 20 years, and she passed away shortly before I pitched the game actually to
Mm.
Lovemore. So she's a card as well in the
Well,
game,
that's
and
nice. That's
I'm super proud of that.
yeah. So on the flip side of that, is there one thing you wish you could go back and do over in stable times?
Oh, really? I don't think so. Not off the top of my head. I think that as a game, it functions very well, and I really like everything about, like, I'm still playing it on BGA all the time. I'm not tired of it, and I think that
Right.
that says a lot about a game from a designer because you can easily get tired of the things that you're working on,
Sure. Yeah.
it's a lot sometimes. Um, but no, I'm very happy with it.
Well,
So,
good. Well, good. I'm glad you
yeah.
don't have anything like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was building it from the ground up again, for sure there would be different things that I would change. But as it stands right now, I'm so happy with the final
Yeah.
product that yeah. I feel like I should have a good answer. Like, no, I would totally fix this, but
No, no,
I
it's
don't think that I would.
as a creative, there's that one thing that nags at you that you're like,
Sure.
"Man,
Oh
I
yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have done this," or
Sure.
"I'd like to do this different." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the fact that Stable Times has that impact upon you after publication, then that's great, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the designer's dream,
Yep. And
right?
it feels good, and there is potentially a expansion coming out
Dun
sometime
dun.
soon. So can't say anything else, but may or may not be happening
I'm just gonna
soon.
say, okay, you just said it. Like, okay, I know what you're doing. You
Yep.
may or may not. That is the most non-committal commitment to an expansion.
No, there's an expansion coming.
Aha.
Yeah.
See, I got her
I
to
know.
admit it.
You got it. I know.
So, across all of these games, which one gave you the most, "This is not working. What am I doing?" moment during development?
Oh, that's a good question because I feel like there's moments like that in pretty
Mhm,
much every game. I will say Garden Club, this one up here.
mhm.
So that's a co-design with Andrew Stiles, who did Wine Cellar. And so we had an idea for this game. It was more like you're exploring a park and you're gathering all these natural resources. And it was a two-player game where you were really focused on adjacencies of where you're placing things. And we went through probably months of just like, why isn't this working? Like, why does it just not
Yeah,
feel right? It's like sometimes it would function fine, but it just didn't feel right. And so it's hard to put your finger on or
right.
describe what exactly that is. And so wasn't working. And then finally we had this sort of breakthrough moment where we turned it into a card game, where you were matching up, like each card would have four half icons on it. And so you were trying to match up to make whole icons for your objective cards. And so you're placing these things in a shared grid, but you're trying to force things so that you fulfill your objectives and then your opponent is doing the same thing with theirs. And it was just sort of this like moment. And I really can't recall how we got there, but we did after sort of months of things just not
Yeah.
feeling right. But I think that's probably the most recent example that comes to mind. But I feel like there's those instances in pretty much every game. You think it's as you're writing down things and you're creating your first iteration, like, oh, this is going to be amazing. It's going to blow everybody away. And then you get on the table, you're like, ugh,
Oh,
what? Like, what was I thinking? Or the first time somebody asks, like, wait a second, why does this do this?
mm,
It's not a cohesive thing right now. So,
that's the
yeah,
worst. That's the
yeah.
worst.
But
Oh,
when you
yeah.
solve those problems, that's the
Mhm.
best. Like, that is the best feeling when you finally resolve the issues that you've had with a game.
Wow. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that you brought it back to, like we were talking about, feelings.
Yeah.
You can have a game that works mechanically, but I mean, if it's just not, and I know my wife and I have had games at our table. We bought games and it was just like,
Mhm.
huh, okay. You know,
Yeah.
I talk a lot. I talk a lot about the sanctity of the marriage between theme and mechanics, right?
Mhm.
And when you get it right, it's
It's
just
yeah.
amazing. And and that's why, here we go, guys. That's why Obsession is my favorite game of all time, right? It's just that theme, and you got to play that with me. So you
Yep.
see now, right? If you
I
ignore the
understand.
theme, if you ignore the theme of that game, it's just playing cards, buying a tile, move on,
Yep.
right? So
Mhm.
you've got to really embrace it, and it marries well.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing for a game designer to achieve, and
Uh-huh.
what really separates the I'm really bad at this chaff from the wheat. Is that sounds right, but I don't.
I don't know if that's right or not,
I,
but I get what you're saying.
you
I'll
do,
go with it.
yeah. I'm the worst at those. My
Uh,
gosh,
no, it makes
yikes.
sense. I think but you're absolutely right. It separates a really great game from a
Mhm.
good or an okay game, and so you're right. Uh when you can make it, theme and, mechanics mesh
Yeah.
together seamlessly to where you're actually getting, like, some of the rules come from the theme. It's free rules. Okay. I was listening to another podcast about game design. The Fun Problems podcast from Peter C. Hayward for designers is amazing. And so they had an episode where they were talking with Alex Cutler about ludo-narrative assonance, where ludo, game, mechanics, and story, narrative
Mhm.
together, like making the best games. And I have thought a lot about that, not just since I heard that podcast, but like in the last few years about
Mhm.
how important it really is to tell a story with your game. And that's how you can, not only do you hook your players, but you get them into the experience of the game. And also, it can make design easier with some of
Oh.
those like free rules. If everybody knows that this does this in the real world, I need to come up with a good example because I don't, buildings you build from the bottom up. You can't start with a building on top. It has to start from the bottom. And so in those types of games, you're leveling up in that way. And so that's like a freebie rule that can live rent free in your player's head because they know you have to start from the bottom. So it's not really something that they have to keep in their mind while they're playing the game. It's already common knowledge. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's helpful,
Mm. Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So, were there any mechanics in any of your games that went through complete and now mechanics, mind you, not so
Mhm.
much theme, mechanics that went through a complete overhaul from early prototype to the final version? Because you talked a lot about theme changing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for sure, Garden Club, mechanically,
Mhm.
totally different. And even the Starfish game that became Stable Times, like, absolutely, completely different mechanically. The only thing that stayed was you had a tableau of things that you were doing, and then there was the drafting in the middle, which stayed pretty much the same. But, of course, there were some different tweaks because now you're dealing with cards instead of
Sure.
starfish arm tokens. But yeah, sometimes there's games where the mechanics don't change at all, and not at all, but they don't change drastically.
Right.
Insectarium would be an example of that. Like the first time I sort of came up with the idea of that, it functioned very similar to what the final product is, tons of changes along the way, but the putting things in rows and columns based on a token that you decide this is what's going to
Mhm.
score for this row and column that stayed pretty much the same from the very beginning until the end product, and just how you got there
Right.
changed throughout the course of development.
I know that you said that you approach game design overall, right? Like your overarching pedagogical approach to game design
Sounds
is
fancy.
well, is theme first, and you take inspiration from real world things around you.
Mhm.
And so, that have you ever gone mechanics first? Like, I really want to make a worker placement, and then you hunt for a theme to make it work. Or,
I know that I have at some point, and, there's nothing of anything that has actually come out has
okay,
started that way.
Okay.
So I don't have any concrete thing to show you that,
Mhm.
yes, this is, this started this way. But sometimes I'll have ideas of just little mechanical things. Like I had an idea for a worker placement type game
Mhm.
where you're not placing a meeple, you are placing a card or a tile. And based on what you're placing where, you're getting a different thing at a different location. I'm explaining that horribly. So this
No,
tile
I
may have
yeah.
4 different things that it can do,
Mhm.
but based on where you put it, it's doing that thing plus whatever is at that space where you are.
Okay. Yeah.
And but that feels very heavy to me,
Oh,
and so I have
sure.
not yet come up with a
Mhm.
theme and or a mechanism more than that to sort of work on
Hmm.
at this point. But yes, it
Well
does happen.
well, at the same time, you come up with a theme, and let's say you all right, we're gonna take one from in my head, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I would love a Mardi Gras board game,
Yeah.
where you're a spectator and the parade is going by, right?
Mhm.
So right away, I know that that game is going to implement set collection as a
Mhm.
mechanic. The idea is that because of Mardi Gras, for those of you guys who have never been in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, what makes a parade of Mardi Gras better and sets it apart from all the rest is that we throw really cool things to you. All
Yep.
right. And you get to keep them forever. And the riders on the parades, they have to buy that out of their pocket. Nobody, so it's
Oh.
thousands of dollars, right? And they throw beads and they throw hand decorated shoes and coconuts. And I mean, just the array of things that can be thrown. So you can
Mhm.
see right away there's so much variety. There are going to be sets that you as a spectator are going to collect. Okay. That's all I got.
Uh-huh.
That's it. So extrapolating from that, you've got a theme that you're interested in. How quickly do you go, "Oh, this would make a insert your favorite
Mhm.
mechanic here." How does that work?
So, like I said earlier, if it's something that I continue to think about or if I have the idea right away and right away I think this could be really great.
Mhm.
And I have an idea from the mechanics, basic mechanics, I will make something right away, like a very first iteration right away. I go into Canva, I make some cards, I do the thing as fast as I possibly can just to see so I can play it myself if what I'm thinking will actually
Right.
work, if it'll function. It probably goes through a couple iterations of that before I start showing it to other people. And then if it functions okay and I get a good feeling about it, then I'll just continue with it as long as it takes. There have been a few instances where I have actually had an idea for a game, made a prototype, and then it didn't really go anywhere. So I just
Mm.
put it away in my bin of the graveyard of prototypes and put it away for a year, got it back out a year later because I kept thinking about it like, I like this game. I want to make it something and started working on it again. And because it had been so long, I had fresh eyes on it and I was able to make it work. And yeah, that's always a weird but awesome feeling too to, come back to something and make it function.
Right.
That feels good.
Yeah. So you have mentioned, I think so far you've mentioned two different designers that you have co-designed some of your
Mhm.
games with. Talk to me about that. How do you find the right design partner?
Sure. Yeah. So I have 3 co-designers that I work with the most. It's Adrian, Adamescu, and then Andrew, and then also Ammon Anderson, who did Gnome Hollow. And every co-designing relationship is different. I feel like I'm pretty good at sort of matching energies with people where it's like, this is how we work on this project. And it's been very interesting and fun for me to learn how other people's design processes go and how they work, and I've learned things from them that I've implemented in my own, like,
Mm.
solo designs, and it's a fun relationship, like, I don't know, it's creative, and so having 2 people in most instances is better than 1 because you can always be bouncing ideas off of each other, you always have a built-in playtester,
Mhm.
so whenever we meet, we play the games and try to figure something out. Somebody takes the files and fixes them and come back the next week and play it again. Yeah, it's a very rewarding relationship. So it's very good. And we end up making things that I that are sometimes very different from what I would make if I was doing it on my own, but you can also tell that there's fingerprints from both people in these games too, so it's not completely out of my wheelhouse, but things change and morph with 2 different people working on it and having ideas that are meshed together.
So you've got a theme, you've got an idea. Do you go out and find the designer, or do you pick up the phone and go, "Hey, Adam, let's make a game." Like, how does that work?
So, no, I don't just call random people like, "Will you make this game with me?" And I've had to I've gotten busy enough, I feel bad. I've had to say no to some
Mm,
co-design opportunities lately as well. Uh, but generally what will happen is like the story of me and Adrian starting to work together. I've been working with him the longest. I think it's been 4 years now, and we've never met in real life. So he lives in Canada. I live here in the US, and we met on Instagram because I knew who he was and I just sent him a message and was asking him some questions about game design, and he was kind enough to respond, and I just, closed my message with, "Well, if you ever want to work with anybody, I'm a homeschool mom, I'm trying to do game design," and he sent me something the next day, and then we started working together. So,
wow.
that was it. And, with Andrew and Ammon, it's mostly because we were friends before. We'd seen each other at conventions a
Mhm,
lot and talked, uh, you know, multiple times and like, we should make a game together.
right.
So that's how that started. So it's not like an amazing story or anything, but it just sort of starts and then you keep going.
Well, so how do you decide you've got an idea, how do you decide whether or not to go solo or to partner with
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I have most of my ideas start solo. It's like I have this idea, I write it down in my notebook. I will maybe make the first iteration if I think it's going to be something. And then, if a co-designer and I have finished up a project or whatever, like, wow, we need something new to work on. A lot of times we will show each other what we've been working on
Mm,
solo and then decide we both kind of like this concept. Let's try to make that happen. And that's pretty much how it has worked for almost every co-design that
wow.
I've done. When we try to just come up with an idea together, it doesn't work as well.
Okay.
If we just try to come up with an idea on the spot, it generally has to start in somebody's brain and then they bring it to the other person and we work on it from there. Yeah.
So it sounds like the community of game designers is very rewarding, very open to collaboration.
Yeah, I for the most part, I think so. It's fun. Instead of sitting behind your computer all day by yourself working out game designs, why not do it with somebody else? You have
Sure.
somebody to talk to. uh, but yeah, as a game design community, it feels very similar to the community of gamers because we're all gamers.
Mhm,
But game designers hang out and exchange ideas and play test each other's stuff and are very open and welcoming, just like any other group of gamers.
right. So when people sit down to play any of your games, what kind of experience are you hoping that they walk away with?
I want people to, well, I mean, I want them to enjoy it, of
Sure.
course. You don't want your players walking away from the table like, that was the worst thing I've ever played ever. So I want them to enjoy it. I want them to also feel like they have done something. Like I talked about earlier, like in most of my games, you are creating something. You're creating a garden, you're creating a museum exhibit, you're creating a shadow box for insects. So I want there to be that feeling of creation.
Mhm,
I have done something. And a feeling of accomplishment, I think, is probably more well suited to describe that. Just, I don't want anybody to walk away from the table feeling defeated, even
mhm,
if they lost the game. I don't want them to feel defeated. They still did this thing and created it and had a good time doing it, whether they won or
hmm.
no.
So what happened in Prowl? Because that's not the
I know.
case.
It's a little bit mean. So that game, I started designing it on the tail end of sharks
Uh-huh.
because I really like the sharks that you're focusing on an animal type,
Yeah.
an animal species, and what they do. Like, I want to make that for tigers. What do tigers do? Well, they compete for territories and they fight each other doing it. So have fun.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Your early games were designed to invoke a feeling of having learned something, right? They had that
Mhm.
educational
Yeah.
component. And now you really are looking to invoke this feeling of creation,
Mhm.
you know, and satisfaction of having built or completed something.
Mhm.
What do you attribute that to? Is it as simple as your kids are just older and you're doing, or is there something else?
I think that I have developed as a game designer. And so in the beginning, I had this very, it was sort of a strict motivation. It's like, this is going to be educational for my kids. And not educational in the sense of like, this is an educational game. Like, I wanted it to just be that type of experience for my
Right.
kids. Not that I'm forcing them to learn something, but they are learning and doing things in this space of playing a game. And so things were much more simple. And so as I have developed more throughout the years as a game designer, I want more out of my designs. And so not only do I tend to have these simple grids or, some sort of category of how things are interacting, but then there's also more happening in the game
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, I think that's what I would attribute the changes to is just being able to recognize things that I could add to a game to have just a little more complexity, a little more strategy. But, I was talking to somebody this week and they were like, name one of your games that does not utilize a grid. And I couldn't name like I'm the grid person. I love grids. I mean, even in Prowl, like you're basically making a grid with your, these territory cards. And so that's my thing. My grids have just gotten more complex and strategic. So yeah.
Well, there's something to be said for that, you know?
Yeah.
So interesting. So going back to my idea for a Mardi Gras game,
Mhm.
it's kind of a grid that moves.
Yeah, because 'cause you'd have to have the parade floats, like, moving
Mhm.
through, and as, you're standing there, and as things move, there's different stuff coming along the
I
float.
I am a big picture guy. I am not a game designer. I will never design a game, but I got a great idea and I want somebody to do it, which means I'm gonna have to take you to New Orleans and you're gonna have to experience it for yourself. And then you're gonna be like, PJ,
Like, "Of
this is
course,
it.
we have to make this."
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I can buy it and play it with my friends and go, see, Mardi Gras is the greatest.
Yep, and I will mesh the theme and the mechanics amazingly.
Yes. Yes. That's fantastic. So,
No.
last question. Do you have, I know it's probably not inappropriate, maybe gauche. Is it gauche? I don't know that it's gauche. I'm going to ask anyway.
It's fine.
Do you
I
have a
don't care.
favorite of your games that you've published?
Ooh, I that's a really good question. I mean, I love each of them for a different reason. Is that a cop out
Sure.
answer?
It is. It is, but
Um,
I'll allow it. No.
like Dinosaur Exhibit was the first game and the only one that I've ever published on my own. So I love it for that reason. It provided me
Sure.
so many opportunities within the gaming industry. I love that. And because of the history with my kids. Stable Times, I love that one. The theme with having my horse on the cover and it's just I don't know. I just love the way that it plays. I don't know. There are so many that I love for so many reasons, and you have to love it because you better like it, otherwise you wouldn't make it. Um,
It's true. That's so true.
yeah, I was
So,
gonna
what does the
go
future
ahead.
hold for Kristen Mott Gaming?
Answer the question with those games of like, this is what I love about these games. So I told you before we went on air, but today on the Dice Tower news segment, they announced my newest game, which is Moana Gifts from the Ocean, which is a
Mm.
game from Maestro Media. And I can finally talk about it. Oh my gosh. Because now it's out there. And I love that IP so much. My kids loved it when it first came out. I'm still a fan, bigger fan than they are now. But I was thrilled to be able to work with that IP and make a game for it. It's for ages 7 and up. And so
Mm.
kids, families, there's may or may not be a grid in that game too, but you're collecting shells and your personal tableau and scoring points and I'm very excited about that IP.
I'm trying to think of Moana's out in the open ocean, and yet you somehow managed to implement a grid.
Okay, so this game takes place after the events of the first movie, and so you are sort of traveling around these different islands, and you're collecting things that the ocean gives you on these
Oh,
islands, and you're placing
okay.
them on your tapestry to help protect your islands. So, yes, there is
That's
some water involved, but it's
but that's fantastic. That's amazing. Oh, that's great. Is there a release date on when that's coming out?
as far as I know, it's just June. I
June.
don't have a release date. That's
There
what
you go.
Tom Vassell said, so that's
Hey, if Mr. Vassal said it, then it must be true. Okay.
it must be true. Yeah.
So June 2026. Be on the
June.
lookout.
Sometime, we'll see.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
So if
Thank you.
anyone is interested in reaching out to you just to find out more about the games you've published,
Mhm.
designing a game with you, working with you in any way, or just saying hi, where can they find you?
Instagram is where I'm the most active. So my handle is at kristenmott.boardgaming. And if you go to the little link thing in my bio, you can sign up for a mailing list.
Mhm.
So I send out an email 4-ish times a year just to kind of update on games that are coming out and games that are available. I don't like to overwhelm people with emails, so every quarter essentially is when I send one of those out. I'm on Facebook. I'm not as active on Facebook, mostly Instagram because that's where I post about games I'm playing and games that are coming out. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me
Absolutely.
again. Again, I think this is your fourth, so I would get to the fifth. I'll see about getting you the five timer cloak.
Five Timers Club. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see about
I
that.
will be
If it's in
expecting
the
a fancy
budget.
robe.
Yeah. If it's in it, well, then I'm never gonna have you back on because
Okay.
it's not in the budget.
That's fine. It's fine.
Because then Craig and Adam are gonna want one too and be like, "Hey,
Yes, they
where is
will.
it?" And I'm be like, "Well, guys, I don't know what to tell you." But thank you so much for joining and
You're
just
welcome. Thanks for having me
talking about
on.
your games. I treasure your friendship and I love your games so much. And one of the beautiful things about you as a game designer is, as we've talked about for the past hour, is the variety of themes that your games are designed around.
Mhm.
So, guys, here's my question for you this week. Put it in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. What is your favorite board game theme? Let us know in the comments. As always, be kind to each other and let's play more games.